Hello everybody, Dragana here from Saacibo. Welcome back to my channel. I have something that I want to share with you. I wanted to make some Valentine hearts, and I wanted to make them really unique and special. And this is what they look like. Aren't they just gorgeous? The big ones have like a little quote just to make them even more appealing. Some of them I backed up with craft paper and some I left like this. I also made a few smaller ones that can be used as tags in your journals. These ones have no writing, just plain cute. And I made some of these little like charms. Aren't they cute? And I had a few pieces left, but you'll never guess what these are made of. These are actually made from combination of paper and fabric collage, and I wanted to share with you how I do this. This is not the first time that I've made these. I've made them before, but I've never recorded the process, and you never get the same result. They're always different. But by fabric collage, I want to just state that it's not the usual one where you have like when you make snippet rolls. You take a piece of fabric and you layer other fabrics and laces and things. This is not the same, but it's very similar. It's just that when you're doing these, you're actually layering fabrics on top of basically paper or cardboard or cardstock, whatever you have, and then you stitch those two together. You sew on the sewing machine to join them together, and then you cut them out and you use them like this. These are like Valentine hearts. You can add them as toppers to your journals. You can turn them into cards, or just have them plain like that as inspiration, hang them out somewhere. You can make them without these, it's again optional, but I think they're so gorgeous and cute. I want to keep them all. I'll put a few in my shop because the Valentine is just around the corner, and it's one of those holidays that a lot of people just love, celebrating love. This is what I mean by fabric collage on paper. This is just paper like this. It comes from some packaging, It's better if it's not too fragile. By that I mean like this paper has some sort of plastic over it, as if it was laminated. You wouldn't use it in your craft otherwise because it's so glossy and shiny, and it's just not the right paper for your journal. But for this project it's actually perfect because it's really tough. You can't really easily tear it, and because we're going to do a lot of stitching, that's what we need. And it doesn't really matter what's on it because it's all going to be covered with fabric pieces. I've got one in blue here. I also made one with white. As you can see, I haven't actually I haven't done any sewing on this one. I just layered it. Then there's this one. Oh, I didn't realize I have so many. The blue one, blue and brown, and the green one. So it depends of what you want your final product to be. That's how you pick the colors, and it's great because you actually recycle everything. This is almost 90% or 95% recycled materials in this project. I think the new thing here is probably just the pieces of this lace, but even that could be from a piece that you have from an old blouse or from some curtains, or but basically the material is all recycled and you create something beautiful. Each one is like a piece of art, and it's a fabric collage that's been turned into these beautiful Valentine hearts. That's what I call them. Anyway, so I've shown you what we're making, and now I want to show you how to make them. This should be fun. So I have my paper. I'm going to use this one. Doesn't really matter what size. You'll need some glue stick. You need some of that, and you need scraps of fabric. I mean, real scraps that you wouldn't use anyway, like, you know. And you pick your color, and because I want to make more of these, I'm going to go along these lines: purple, red. I might even go brighter red than this. These are a combination of purple and red, crimson red, but I might do one that's more orangey red, like a, what's the word? Really bright red. And let's have a look what I've got. I've got my scraps here. I usually store them like this, either as color coded, like purples and reds, or the fabric type, like if they're all silky fabrics, I would put them together, especially if they're smaller pieces. So I want to see what I have here and what I can use. This is not scrap, but I don't even know how it ended up there. Okay, so we have some reds here. It already looks promising. Great. So this is quite easy process and doesn't require much thinking at all. You just pick up the pieces and you glue them on, and you just make sure basically to cover all the empty areas so there's no paper showing through. That's as simple as that. And if the pieces are too big, we don't want that either. You just cut them out, but try to use the smaller pieces first, and then, you know, you will see in the end, if you need more, you'll cut them out. You get some laces there, you can, you know, decorate it further, because we are going to cut shapes out of this anyway. So once you cut, you have another chance to add something to it if you feel like it's needing something. So I won't be saying anything else now. You can just watch me do it, and I'll probably put some music on because I don't really know what to say. It's quite self-explanatory. So I'll just get your glue stick, and you either put glue here or on the fabric, and you just start, just lay it flat like that. Simple as that. Okay, you can do it this way, the same thing. You can slightly overlap them, that's fine too, and you just keep going. The idea is to have predominant color, but different patterns of the fabric, different, I don't know how to explain, like they're all red, but they're all slightly different red, or they have different texture, you know. So overall they're going to be red, but you can add other colors as well that you think would go well, like this one. what I'm doing, like if I have one piece of fabric only in that type, I would probably space it out, you know, have it in a few different areas. Goes over the edge, that's fine, we will trim it later on. That's not a big deal at all. I'm already liking it. It's really interesting. Have that one there. There's a bit of white showing. Fabric, but if we turn it the other side, it's a slightly different color, so let's just do that. Have it like that. pieces of lace. I think that would look nice as well. Now this one, I don't know how to glue it. Not really possible, so I'll just place it and I'll try to catch it with the needle while I'm sewing. That's basically it. It's just layered and lightly glued with a glue stick, and you can lift it up because this paper is thick. We can now roughly trim it just where the pieces are sticking too much. Okay, so now it's time to go to the sewing machine. We are at the sewing machine. I have a dark red color thread and I've got bright red in the bobbin, but you can have any thread you like or whatever you have, doesn't really matter. And I'm going to do a zigzag stitch, and I'll put the length to 1.5 millimeters length and 2.5 millimeters width. So I find that that's going to work. You can do a straight stitch, but if you want to catch all the bits and pieces, I think zigzag stitch is works much better, and it's easier to do. So the way I start is just anyway, you know, you can start from the beginning, somewhere in the corner, from the middle, whatever. So I try to catch 2 pieces of fabric with the zigzag like this. Just go over, and then I'll go over, and then I'll also go across. Doesn't really matter, like what I'm trying to say, it doesn't really matter how you go with your stitching, as long as everything's secured. So you basically aim to secure everything and you don't worry about anything else. And once it's all secured, then you'll know you're done, you know, no things that are lifting off or falling off. So let's begin. when you have to stop, when you get to the end, to the edge or to the corner, you always put your nail down, then you lift up the foot, you turn it around and you put the foot down again. Alright, so once you've done most of it, you just go and look at the stitches and everything that you've done, and just make sure that all of the pieces are kind of secured, and just go over a few times if you have to. Imagine that you are scribbling with your pencil, you know, you just want to connect all the bits and pieces together, and the more of the sewing you do, the better the result. So that is basically it. Okay, it's looking good. As you can see the difference with the one that I've done before, I had more of a crimson red and some purple color, and this one is more like bright red with a bit of yellow, and you know, it's slightly different, but this one's more like really a bit lighter. So what I want to do now is cut out these shapes, and I usually just mark from this side, and I already have my template, but the way I've done it is basically fold a piece of paper and drew the shape, and then I opened it up, and then I traced it onto a cardstock because it's easier to actually work with. But I'll just give you an example. So you get a piece of paper, because decide how big you want your heart to be. You might want them to be smaller to fit on a journal. This is like A5 size, and even if I was going to use it as a, you know, topper on a journal, I think that one is quite big, but it can fit. So you decide how big you want your heart to be. So, and then you just draw a shape. I find it easier to draw it like that. And if you want it to be long or short, it's up to you. And then you just cut it. And if you're not happy with the end result, you can always do it again until you are happy with the shape. Okay, so now you open it up, and there you go. So you can then put it against your journal. I think that's quite a good size. Oh my god, I almost made it identical without trying. Anyway, so what I did, I traced over the cardstock, and I cut it out because it's easier to mark around the cardstock than around the paper. And I also made a small one the same way, because there will be some pieces of this left over, and then you can do it like that, you see, or you can even go like this. We can see now how many we're going to be able to make, probably about 6, and then we'll have some pieces left to do smaller hearts. But for now we'll just do one, just so that I demonstrate how it's done. And I want to see which area should we use. Maybe here. Okay, and I'll just grab a marker. And then we cut it. You need sharp scissors for this. Quite a few layers of fabric, and this cardstock is also quite thick. And this doesn't have to be perfect. The whole idea is for it to look handmade. So small imperfections are actually good. That's what gives it character. And there's a heart. I like how it looks. I think I just want to trim this bit. Yeah. Lovely. So if I was to put this on top of a journal, it looks really good. Okay, so what I did with these ones, I had some pieces of fabric that I typed on these quotes, and let me see if I have any. This is like an option. You can just leave it as it is. You don't have to put anything on top. I'm just thinking if I don't have any that are relevant, so I might just leave it as is without adding any of the messages on top, just like that, like I did here. Just plain collage. And in that case we don't need to do any more sewing, but what I did, I actually colored these. You can do it with ink, but with this paper that I'm using, ink doesn't work. It just didn't cover. So what I did, I used the Sharpie, took a red one, and I just colored the edges just so they're not white, like so. It. At this point you can leave it as it is, but I would go around, you know, just with the zigzag stitch, or you can get some craft paper or some book pages, glue them on back, and then do the zigzag stitch. But what I did here is I actually placed it on a piece of this corrugated cardboard, like similar to this one, but I don't have any of this. This is a bit too wide, so I don't really feel like using it. So, and I have a piece of the black one, so I'm going to now. I think it's too black. I'm going to put it on this one anyway. So I just glued it onto this. And yeah, if you're going to have this hanging bit, you will have to do it now. Let's just do one with that, just so I demonstrate how. Just use this color, so you can add little beads if you want. If you don't, I had some handmade beads, so I put them, but you don't have to. So just like that, and I added a little bit of tape just to hold it in place, just like that. And this is not really, it doesn't have to be properly glued because I'm going to stitch around, so just like that. And now I take it to my sewing machine and I do a wide zigzag stitch in a way that I catch this like that, so that all the edges are kind of like secured. I just cut this so it's easy to work on the sewing machine like that. Okay, go back to the sewing machine. Alright, I like to start somewhere around here. So a wider zigzag stitch, this means wider, as wide as it can go on your machine. Mine is 5mm the most, and I'll have the same length as earlier. So with my needle, maybe you can see this. Where's my doll? I make sure that this side, when the needle is on this side, it goes right next to the heart and into the card board like that. And when it's here, it catches this. So this, that's how you do it. And then you put it in, you lift your foot and you turn. Again, now you see how I've gone too far, so I have to lift up and move this slightly, and then again I go right next to it and then hold. And here I can slightly turn. Gently, you go slowly. Once you get to the top, it becomes a bit more difficult, so you lift it up and you turn it. And you go again. And here as well, you put it in, you lift up the foot and you turn. Then you put it in like that. And here I just go once or twice here and I do the back stitch. Just to make sure I catch that, what's it called, thread. Okay, I probably went too far down, but that's alright. Again, turn. What this does essentially is securing all the stitches, but also securing it to this corrugated cardboard. That's why I didn't bother about gluing it properly. Okay, that was easy, wasn't it? That's our heart. Now at this stage, you can glue something at the back or you can leave it like that. It's up to you really. So if you want to put a nice paper at the back, or just craft paper or book pages, or some really nice looking scrapbooking paper, it's up to you. I think I'm going to put some of that. So, craft paper with little hearts, why not? Let's just glue that onto the back. So I will follow the stitching, but I know that I want to cut it a little bit wider, so I'm going to do that. Does that have direction? No. Make sure that is glued properly. So that it's easy to work. Okay, give it a few minutes to dry, just to make sure it is properly glued. And now I cut it just away from the edge because I want to be able to see this corrugated cardboard. I find it nice. I like to look at it. Okay. So I try to leave approximately the same amount all the way around, but like I said, approximately. I don't really measure, but you can draw a line where you want to cut. I don't, I just do it. And then from this side I check if it's looking okay, and then just press a little bit more. It hasn't glued, but it's looking good. And there is a heart, so it can even be used as a tag in your journal. It can be used as a topper just on its own. If you add messages like I added here, you make my heart sing. What's this one? No beauty shines brighter than that of a good heart. It's the same. There is always someone willing to mend your heart. If your heart is broken, make art with the pieces. I love that one. Remember to leave a little piece of your heart everywhere you go. This one, my heart belongs to you. I think it's a really cute gift to someone, or just, you know, to have them around as an inspiration, or use in your journals or whatever. You know, I'm sure you can think of other ways of using them. And with this, you can make approximately 6 hearts. I forgot to tell you the measurements of that piece of paper we had, and it was 12 inches by, I think, 13 inches, is it? 13.5 inches by 12 inches, but it doesn't really matter how big they are. Whatever you have, you can make smaller one. Might even be easier to work on a sewing machine. You can make a bigger one if you want, so it's up to you. But you basically make a collage, which is a piece of art, and it can be used in different ways, and I think they're so cute. And you can make them bigger or smaller, it's up to you. And you can also do this same thing with, like I've shown you earlier, in different colors, and make other shapes. It doesn't have to be a heart. It can be, you can turn them into tags. You can make them squares. You can actually do the whole journal cover. Look at that. It can be a whole journal like that, and you add more things to it, lace or whatever. I find this stitching and layering thing really satisfying. I mean, because I don't have to do much thinking. I just, the same as if I'm scribbling, my thoughts wander off in all sorts of directions and by the time it's done, I feel so relaxed afterwards. I don't know, and you create something from nothing, that's the main thing, and you have fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found value in it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, I forgot to say one more thing. Once you cut out all the bigger shapes, you're going to be left with smaller pieces like this, you know, and it's up to you at that point whether you throw them away or you keep them. I tried to make a couple of little charms with the pieces that were left, and aren't they just gorgeous? You know, irregular shapes that are really great decorations for journals. Just glued some flowers and some cord around, put eyelet here. I think they're so cute, and even these ones, I think they also look really beautiful. If any of you attempt to make these, I'd love to see your results. Let me know in the comments below where I can look at the pictures. I would love to see what you come up with. I'm always amazed. And thanks so much again. I hope I see you in my next video. Bye for now.